Well, the pushback against capitalism continues to grow. There's a new book out called Winners Take All, the elite charade of changing the world. It suggests that modern-day billionaires are actually worse than the robber barons. With me now in the Fox Business Exclusive to discuss the state of capitalism, billionaire investor Foster Friess. Foster, thanks for joining the show.
Charles, it's always a delight to be with you. You got to get out in Wyoming. We need a lot of workers out here. Come on and join the force.
Hey, you know what? I love Jackson Hole. A dear friend of mine who just passed away this year, we used to go to his house like every other year. Absolutely phenomenal. You'll be seeing me real soon. I just hope when I get there, though, our economic structure is still the same, because I keep talking about this, and I'm not sure. I'm calling the elites that they're listening. And here's the problem. I think a lot of people in America believe that the current system is failing them and that they are going to start looking for alternatives. Now, we only know socialism. It doesn't have to be that. But my argument to billionaires like yourself is that maybe capitalism has to save itself. Maybe something's got to be tweaked so that we don't allow the sort of election results we saw on Tuesday to become the whole election results for the entire country.
Well, Charles, I think a lot of this is coming from the press and the university. Like, you look, Ms. Cortez's win is heralded as a whole new trend. Only 13% of the registered Democratic voters came out, and there weren't a lot of votes cast, but they really played us up like this is a whole new trend. And if you look at black unemployment, it's an all-time record low since 1972. Asian employment, it's Hispanic. So there's a lot of good things. I just think we aren't doing a good job of selling it. And they talk about free education, free medical care, Charles. Yeah. You know, it's free while you get it, but when you get be 30, 32, do you know what the tax rate in Sweden is? It's as high as 60%, and it kicks in like 44% for the average Swede, and they have a 25% sales tax.
No, I'm with you. I know that's why the guy who started IKEA lived in Switzerland until his last year of life, right? He didn't want to pay any of those taxes, but there was also a report out this week that up to 40% of Americans have trouble paying basic bills like utility bills. So there's a bifurcation in this country, and a notion in this country, even for those who are doing pretty well, that if the CEO of their company makes 400 times what they make, there's a resentment. And this is what I'm saying. When I hear what you're telling me, I'm on board with what you're telling me, but I think you're making the mistake of thinking that somehow the millennials who only have a 45% favorable thoughts about capitalism will have an epiphany tomorrow. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll elect a guy like Gillum in Florida, who was like the 6th-ranked guy running. He wasn't even on the map. Everyone raised more money than he did, and he won that election. He's not the only one. I think if we dismiss him, Alexandria Cortez, I think capitalists are making a mistake.
Well, but we have to do a better job of selling. I put together a governor, a senator, a House member, a guy from the RNC and the White House, and we said, okay, let's get a common message. Let's sing from the same hymnal. And it fell apart very quickly because the governor didn't want to deal with climate change because his concern was roads, education, and other issues. So we have not done a good job of selling capitalism, and we haven't sent enough of these folks down to Venezuela. Let's take a great big plane. Let's see if Donald Trump will lend us Air Force One, and let's take everybody down to Venezuela and let them see firsthand.
You know, this book I referenced, I haven't read it yet, but I've read a lot of excerpts, and I found it interesting because it sort of points to the idea that the billionaires who, for instance, take the pledge, I'll give away all my money. It sounds great. I'll give away $100 billion, but then some people start to ask themselves, how did you get $100 billion when I don't have 100? You know, and some people start to ask themselves, do foundations really help, or are they just masking the machine that allowed this income inequality in the first place? How do you address that?
Well, income inequality is another word for the American dream. I'm the American dream, and we ought to have a Foster Friess in every little town in America. And I made that fortune by taking, let's say you gave me a $200,000 portfolio. I got paid $2,000 to do that. I had to pay all my expenses, and then the government took half of that. So I wind up with $500 for managing $200,000. That's more than that's less than what people pay their maid. So I think again, it's another selling job that we have to show how hard it is to accumulate wealth.
All right. Well, Foster, if you want to stake a little Foster Friess in Bergen County, New Jersey, I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Have a great day, Charles.
You too.
God
Thanks.
bless you, man.
All right. We want to bring in our panel now to the